Hey guys, Sean Madavi here with Realbies.com in another amazing interview for you today. Got a special guest on today. Her name is Krisstina Wise. You may remember that last name Wise because we've had her husband on, Gary Wise, before. He was talking about technology. Today we're talking about money specifically. We're going to cover today how to elevate the way you think about money. The universal laws of money. I didn't know there was universal laws about money. How money operates, how to build a legacy, and here's a big surprise, how making more money is not going to get you out of debt. So yeah, for those of you that are just like scraping and trying to, and clawing and trying to make more money to get out of debt, that's not the way that you do it. Krisstina Wise is the founder and CEO of Good Life Companies. Her multi-million-dollar award-winning enterprise includes the renowned Good Life Realty, a real estate brokerage based out of Austin, Texas, and the Paperless Agent, which is a training system that helps real estate professionals become tech savvy. She is one of the 100 most influential real estate leaders in the country. She's been highlighted in an Evernote commercial as a small business case study and was featured by Apple Computers for her company's effective use of the iPad. Her newest brand, Krisstina.com, is designed to help entrepreneurs learn to love money so they can live a happy, financially free, good life, and she's just written her first bestseller, which is called Falling for Money, How to Have a Lifetime Love Affair with Your Finances. So guys, I'll just tell you right now, pay attention, get your notepad out, take some notes. We're going to cover a lot of great information. Enjoy the interview with Krisstina Wise. Hey Krisstina, thanks for showing up today.
Hey, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today.
Yeah, I know. We're going to cover a lot of fun stuff. I just really want to jump right into it. I know this is something that you're really passionate about is money, and obviously you've made a lot of money. You've been very successful in several businesses up to this point, and it's something that it's really near and dear to you. And I've got a lot of questions today because I know a lot of people are showing up and watching this, and they might be watching this a year from now after we've taken it, and it's still the same principles are still going to apply when it comes to your money. But I really want to start off with like really understanding your passion behind it and why it's so important to you. I know you lead a team of agents. I know you're a mentor to many. Why is it so important to you about money and just really starting this Krisstina.com movement about this and empowering people about money?
Well, I'm passionate about it. I'm so glad you asked that question versus just jumping right into money, because I think it's important. But my passion for money is something because I love talking about it, and I love talking about it for a number of reasons, but I love talking about it because it's taboo. And the thing is most of us will talk about anything other than money. I mean, we'll talk about anything as crazy as it may be and avoid the money conversation. And the sad truth is that money, many of us, our lives aren't where we want them to be because of a money situation, or we have conflicts in our relationship because of a money situation, or we have children that are in situations because of a money situation, or we're getting close to retirement age, we're feeling sort of the strain of that confronting the fact of like, do I have enough to retire? Or we're in a place where at the end of the month there's just not quite enough money there, so we live in this perpetual state of sort of financial distress. So I love talking about money, this taboo subject, something that we all avoid wanting to talk about, because I really believe that in order to get good at something, we have to talk about it. And money is something, regardless of our beliefs about it or our feelings about it or how we've been raised, money impacts every part of our life. Is it all about money? Never. Do I work? Is it all about the money? Not even close. But I am very aware of the fact that my goal in my life is to live a really good life. I mean, that's why, you know, my overall brand is Good Life Companies. I want to live a good life. I want to help other people live a good life. And we can have all these dreams to live a good life. But the truth is that money impacts our life. It allows us, what money does is it underwrites the cost of living our life. So that's all money is money is a vehicle that allows us to fund our life. So if we want a good life, we have to first decide what is a good life to me, but then two, we have to ask the question is, how will I pay for my good life? Because it costs money, everything costs money. So that's my passion, is just sort of puncture this old mindset of the tabooness of it. And then the other part of it is that we can all live a good life, especially those of us in real estate. I mean, we have great careers. We can make high incomes. We help people with their money. I mean, we're in their lives. Buying a house is a lot to do with money. So, in order to get good at money, we have to learn about money. And I don't know about you, Sean, but did you go to money school?
No.
Was it offered to you in elementary school or high school or
Economics.
college?
Economics was
Well,
it.
yeah, there's a little money in there, but that's sort of the global macro scale, not
Yeah.
micro to how do you apply economics to your own life.
Yeah.
But most of us have no money education. So if money impacts every part of our life, and we have to get good at it really to have enough money to live that life that we want, we need to spend some time understanding it. We have to get over these feelings we have about it.
Yeah.
So all of that is why I'm really excited to start having this conversation, just to get out there and say, hey, let's talk about it.
Well, and so, I know, and I think it's taboo, especially in real estate, because, it's a sad statistic, and I know, and I mention it a lot, but the average real estate agent does, 5 to 7 transactions per year, which roughly comes out to around $36,000 to $42,000 per year, which we all know in real estate is not a lot of money at all, because it costs a lot of money to be a realtor. It costs a lot of money to be self-employed, because it takes money to make money. So when you start talking about investing in marketing and all of these things, it's kind of like, oh, I don't want to do that because I'm kind of living paycheck to paycheck. The average agent, I know a lot of guys at Realbies and a lot of ladies at Realbies are a little bit above that, but we really want to talk about why the taboo subject and how it's not taboo anymore, how it's comfortable to have these conversations with your children, because I think my pastor says it best. He says, but when people don't like to talk about money, it's because they don't have any. And so, what you're doing is, and what I love, and we're going to get into this here in a moment, because I want everybody to know at the very end of this interview, we're going to you probably already saw a link on the page, but we're going to talk about a special presentation that you and I are doing around money, and an actual program that you put together that's just like, it's getting amazing reviews. I can't wait. I'm so excited to talk about this. Mm-hmm. But so let's jump right into this, Krisstina, because it's really important. I want to provide a lot of value. People don't like to talk about money because they don't have any.
Well, and I'm going to jump on that too. So let's talk about a couple things that you said there. Is number one, the way we're sort of taught to think in real estate, because it's the main focus, is something called GCI. What does GCI stand for? Gross commission income. So all the top producers and how much money we make, everything, all the conversations are really organized around how much money you make, that sort of gross income. But gross income is only a part of the money equation. It's there's not a lot of focus on who keeps the most money. There's not a lot of focus on actually who's building wealth with the money they're earning. There's not a lot of focus of those that have actually turned their real estate into businesses and have invested themselves and are using their real estate knowledge to build their fortune. And that's why personally I've loved real estate, is because it's afforded me the opportunity to earn a high income. But then I've also had the opportunity to invest, and I have a formula that we'll talk about when we do our presentation together. But there's two ways to think. What I like to say, it's really not about how much money you make. There's so much focus on make more, make more, make more. Like that's the answer, and it's making more is not the answer. So that's the first thing I want to say here, is that making more money is not the answer. There's something that's called Parkinson's Law, and Parkinson's Law that says expenses always rise to match income. So what that means is we think that if I can just do another deal or another 10 deals or make more money, that will solve my problems. And it's not. Why? Because the more money we make, if we don't have a solution for if we don't know how money operates, and we don't have a system and a formula and the tools to be able to help us manage our money and to grow our money and to be able to build wealth and opportunity with our money, then we just spend it all. And it doesn't matter if we make $37,000, $100,000, $250,000. There's something called a high income poor person. And what a high income poor person is, it means they might make $250,000 a year, but they're still sort of just one paycheck away from bankruptcy. Meaning if they, especially in real estate, if they got in a car accident and couldn't work for 60 days, they're toast. So just making more money in our industry is not the answer. The answer is understanding the mechanics of money and having a system for how the money flows so that you can use money to fund your life today and to fund your life for your future self sometime in the future, which may, be like retirement. So when we have our conversation, we'll talk about all the mechanics of that, and I'll teach you everything I know. And what I like to share as part of that story is that I was a high income poor person. I grew up very poor. I grew up in poverty. Most people don't know that. And by just growing up from young age, I just, I saw people that had more than I did. So I wanted that and went to college and learned and studied and bootstrapped my way. And I found my way into real estate. And like we all know, the great thing about real estate is if you're very determined and you're ambitious and you work hard, you can make a boatload of money. I mean, there's no ceiling to the income you can make in this industry, and that's the beauty. So what did I do? I came from a poor family, so I bought the big house and I bought the big cars and I bought the expensive vacations and I put my kids in private school and I thought I had the white picket fence. And then what happened to me is I got divorced and I'm a single mom. I have 2 kids and I realized like, oh, I forgot to pay the IRS because I didn't know any different, or I just thought I'd have money at the end of the year to pay it and I didn't. And I had all this credit card debt because all those expensive car or vacations and everything I put on a credit card because I could pay, I figured I had a big income, could do that. And I had all those car payments. So when I got divorced and just life happens and, it all fell apart, I was here, mom was single, a single mom and had nothing and had to borrow money from friends just even to pay the light bill. And that was very humbling, to go from thinking I was rock star and all that and didn't realize I really was like one paycheck away from bankruptcy. And I was a high income poor person because I was really poor because the day that income stopped, I had nothing. I had no assets. I had a bunch of debt. I had mounds of debt. I had to IRS liens. I had car payments. I mean, I didn't know how I was going to do it. I was broken. I just came from a divorce. I was, depressed and couldn't even really get out of bed because life was so hard at that time. And I finally just reached a place of seeing my 2 kids and realized like, oh my gosh, you know what I'm doing? I'm living the life of my parents. I'm living the life of everything, of a broken family, no money, my kids suffering the consequences. And I knew what that felt like. And I like, there's got to be a method to this. There's got to be something to figure out. Making money is not the answer. I know how to make a lot of money, but I made a lot of money and look what I've got. I've got nothing. So it was at that point that I went to study this. I've studied for money, like studied it as a discipline for over a decade. And I've been able to turn my income, sometimes, high income years. And as we all know, those of us in real estate in 2000, 2007, 2008, times were pretty lean for all of us because in the recession, we got hit the hardest, I think. So even during those years, right, the method of being able to understand money and operate it and use money a certain way has enabled me and my husband, our life. We just continue to grow our wealth and build our fortune. And the system has allowed us to do that. But there's just so much the money equation. And I want to really help us in the real estate industry to get over this thinking that if I just do another deal or if I just make more money, that will solve my problem. And it's much bigger than that.
Yeah, and I love that because that's basically what you're saying is you have to think differently about it. It's not that way. And, I was telling you in previous conversations that we've had, like, a lot of people don't know that I used to be in the credit repair business. I had a brick and mortar credit repair business, and, people were always wanting their credit repaired. And I networked with a lot of real estate agents and mortgage brokers, and they would just hand me off the people with the bad credit. And so we'd get on the phone with them and we'd talk to them and understand their spending habits. Because it was all about what they were spending. It wasn't credit. It wasn't a credit issue.
You're right.
It was a money issue. And it was interesting how I'm just going to say it like it is. It was very difficult to get people to think differently about money and ways to spend their money versus, how to go out and make more money, or just let's do a quick fix and just wipe out, the tax liens, the bankruptcies, the past dues, the collections and all that stuff, and just get rid of it, because all it did it just put a Band-Aid on a festering wound. It really didn't take care of anything on the surface.
No, because our habits and practices are, our life is a result of what we did yesterday and the day before that and the day before that. It's all cause and effect. So yeah, there might, to your point, right, we might be able, let's say, declare bankruptcy and we get a clean slate. But if we don't understand money, if we don't understand how it operates, the mechanics of it, and the importance of it, and what we need to do to be responsible, we'll find ourselves in the exact same situation again. I mean, it's no accident that most lottery winners lose their complete fortune. And many celebrities, Mike Tyson, we can name many celebrities have had, millions, tens, hundreds of millions of dollars of fortunes, and they lost it all. So again, it's not about how much money we make. It's really about our methodology for how we keep it, and how we use money to build a fund our good life, our life. And there's a way to do that. But we do, to your point, we have to learn. We have to break old habits. We have to break old thinking, and we have to get out of sort of this consumption lifestyle as well that so many of us are in. Or what is it called? Retail therapy. Sometimes we just go buy things to make us feel better, and and
I'm guilty of that sometimes.
Yeah, no, well, we all are, right? I mean, I do that myself sometimes. But even my retail therapy is in my budget, right? I have like a line item for that. So, but we have to be aware. Part of we have to learn about money. We have to gain a base understanding. And what I like to tell everyone is money's easy. So there's a certain level on Wall Street that's very complicated, and believe me, that's way beyond my capacity to even understand how all that stuff operates. But as far as our personal lives, our personal financials, money's really easy. There's just a few distinctions we have to learn, but we really have to learn them. And there's some disciplines, like there's some universal laws of money that they're laws, they're rules, they're universal. And what that means is we have to follow them. The way I think about it, like the example I like to give is gravity. Like when you might not understand gravity, you might even not even like the fact that there's gravity, but that's irrelevant. There's the law of gravity. And what the law of gravity says is if you stand on top of a 50-story building and you jump off, there's a serious consequence of that. Whether you believe in gravity or not is irrelevant. Gravity is a universal law at work all the time. So there's so many aspects of life where there's these universal principles, but money's operations is one of those. So we have to understand how money operates. We have to understand a few concepts like what is an asset and what's the difference between gross income and net income, and what really is net worth, and what is a budget. People talk about the word budget, and we think of restriction, and I've renamed it, and I've created a money mapping system that allows us not to budget and restrict, but to map out like the flow of our money and the growth of the money, and how our money is going to work to touch all aspects of our lives, enable us to save so we have enough savings. So we're not the high income poor person, but if we lost our job tomorrow, we actually have money reserves set aside, and that we have a system for putting money away for our future self, because our future self will catch up with us one day. Like we will be that future self one day. And so there's just these different elements of money, some distinctions we have to learn, some universal laws that we have to follow to have, that become disciplines. Yeah. And then really we just have to have a system and sort of a methodology and a system for touching our money, for being aware of it. So it's an awareness, like that's part of my goal, and that's why I'm so grateful to be here with you today. It's just to help, like maybe puncture some old thinking, or to say something that says, hey, I'm not really aware of my money, sort of money in and money out, and kind of hope, cross my fingers that I'll have enough at the end of the month, or enough someday in the future. And it's like, no, we can have the lottery mentality, the cross my finger mentality, that the money's all going to work out. But any of us that are in that, it's not going to work out.
Yeah, hope is not a strategy.
So hope is never a strategy. So, but if we're planned about it and we just understand the basics, we can all have the life we want. And money is the vehicle. Like we have to learn about money in order to have that life. But nobody tells us that, and it's politically incorrect. And if you talk about money, like how dare you? Like I said, it's that taboo subject. And I just want to say, if we break that, we can all start living better lives.
Absolutely, great point. It's a crazy statistic, has nothing to do with real estate, but listen to this. One of my clients is in the sports, their sports management company. They're sports agents. 76% of professional athletes, once they get out of playing professional sports, go bankrupt. 76%. Wow. That's crazy. So that's just guys, let's wake up here. So I think probably the biggest takeaway, if you could say one thing that's like the most important advice about money, is just change the way that you think about it. Would you say that's true?
It's all, everything always starts the way we think. And money, so I like to challenge people to think, like, what's your money philosophy? Like, what is your belief system? And it's a place to start looking. Like I have a money philosophy, and I live that philosophy every day. but those around me are very clear what that is. And a big part of that too is I've really moved out of this place. Like when I was attached to the thinking that money buys happiness, and that the more money I make, the happier I'll be because the more things I'll have or whatever. Like it was all about this more, more, more. And if I had more, whatever, I would be better off some way. But I've really, now that it's not about how much money I make, now I know more income allows more opportunity to do greater things or better things or different things. But it's again, it's about how much money do I have that I'm able to use towards producing all the things in my life that I want to turn out a certain way. But with for me now, because I'm detached from like that money philosophy, money for me now it's about creativity. So it's not, I've moved from this place of consumption where I really need very little. I actually make a lot of money now, right? And you know, my husband Gary and I, we're building a decent amount of wealth, and you know, from a financial standpoint, we're in a good spot. But are we done yet? No. Why? Because we're very clear of what we're working towards building. So we're still in the game, building and doing and creating. But
there's a plan.
There's a plan. We're totally in the plan, and you know, with the plan that, and enjoying and being fun and having fun inside this plan. But we're like a big shift for me, especially getting away from that GCI and more money, more happiness. Now it's about the more money I make, the more I can create. Because money for me, like the more money I make and the more money I keep and the more money I have in assets, the assets allow me to feel financial security. So that's what I have that, you know, that many others don't, that I went, and I only say that, it's not to brag, you know, by any means, because again, I'm not even close to done yet. But what I have that I want for everyone that makes life a lot easier is I have financial security, meaning if something happened, I have assets. Yeah. Financial security for if life happens now, and I'm building towards even a lot more security so that I can retire one day. So financial security is getting to the place where you're out of that constant sort of financial stress and worry that breaks up marriages, that brings stress at the end of every month, that just causes so much turmoil in our lives, and that constant stress. So that's the first goal as part of the plan, is to remove ourselves or get to a place of just financial stability. You know, everything's about these enormous dreams and vision boards and real estate and do all these things. Like, yeah, go for it. But really funnel it down to a place like the starting place. I'm just going to get to the next step is to have financial security, where I feel very secure. I've got a really solid foundation that I can move from and build from. But with that being part of the goal for me now, it's like I don't have to consume much. Like when I'm out of this consumptive sort of way of thinking, like things buy happiness or more money buy happiness, to me, really, where Gary and I, if we do spend our money, it's spent more on experiences. So it will be like we'll spend money on having a nice dinner with friends, or we'll spend money to take a trip, or we'll spend money to produce these experiences in life. But we buy very few things anymore. I mean, we're not attached to that. No. But what money does buy me, the income does buy me now, it's not more things. I could buy more things, but you know what it buys me that no one talks about? It buys me my time. So when I have my time, number one, I have freedom. So I have freedom that I have more flexibility. I still work hard, but my work is out of pure joy, pure love of what I'm creating, of what I'm doing. And not because I have to, or because, you know, to make the end of the month bills. Yeah. So with that time, I get my time back, the flexibility to do what I want, to live life on my terms. That's what we all want. We want freedom. That's what financial freedom is. Financial freedom, what everybody talks about, is freedom from financial worry and stress, and freedom to do what we want, to live life on our own terms. That's what we're getting towards. And so living life on my own terms, what that gives me is time. And that time, what time is space. And to me, now that I'm not into consumption, I use that space to create. And that's where joy comes from for me now, is creation. It's always creating something. It's putting something new into the world and using that time and space to create and to be and to experience. And life changes so much when we really get out, when we have a plan for changing our life financially, when we're in that plan and living it every day. And we know that we have a system for building us to that place of financial security, which is everything I teach. It's in my book. We'll talk about it when we talk about the money mapping system in our next call together. And then we just these bits and pieces start to fall in place, and then we're out of this, I win the lottery mentality, and we're really in the richness of knowing that everything we're doing is working towards putting us in the best situation possible and allowing us to enjoy this time in each moment while we're building towards something in our future.
I love that. Three things. Number one, what I love about what you're saying and what you're doing is you're building a legacy. Not only for you and Gary, but you're building it for your children. You're building it for your children's children. You're creating something right now that generations of your family will be able to take advantage of. And what's interesting about that is you're not stuck in what your family of origin has done with the bad money decisions. You broke out from that mold. And everyone always says, not making money is hereditary. You know what? Stop thinking like that. It's not, because just because your parents didn't make money doesn't mean you can't. There's amazing stories of people coming out of poverty and changing the world, and that's what you're doing, and I love it. That's the first thing. Second thing, I was thinking as you were talking, I was thinking about the whole, and I want to ask actually, let me save it to the third thing. The second thing, well, I'll go ahead and ask that. People are listening to you right now. They're going, all right, this is great. You're doing really great, Krisstina. That's great. But I can't afford to get out of debt. I can't, I'm so stressed out. I don't even know what to do. Mm-hmm. Just guide me right now. Give me something that's just going to that's going to be a game changer. Like, for instance, listen, I had a cable bill for the longest time. And, and I was like, you know what? I don't even watch it. Why am I paying $80 per month for cable when I don't even watch it? I'll watch Netflix. Netflix is on the internet. I can watch Netflix on my iPad. I don't really need cable. I don't even watch the news. There's so much crap going on right now. That's $80 per month now that I just put back in my pocket. Give us some, give the watcher, the listener today, something that they can really take with them right now. If they're just feeling like, I'm just so confined and I just can't even afford to get out of debt.
Yeah, well, part of I have a money program, so I teach an exact system for doing everything you've talked about, like looking at your spending and paying off your debt. And you come in, and usually there's no light at the end of the tunnel. There's no way, we can't see our way out of our situation. And there is a way out of your situation. We just don't have any framework, or most of us don't have any knowledge or ability to know what that might be. But what I want to say is that everybody can change their situation. Like I said, less than a decade ago, I was single mom, 2 kids, completely broke, IRS liens, credit card debt, just one step away from, just the bankruptcy piece. And so what I do know is if I've been able to completely turn my life around, everyone can. So that's number one. I really am a living example of everything I teach, and everything I teach, I actually do. So what I'm doing is just because my passion is to really impact the world in this way to help people really get control of their lives. And the one way to do that is we have to learn about money. I teach my exact system for what I do, what I've done, what I do, what I continue to do. But a couple different things is that some ways that we shift that we're thinking, and I'll talk about all this in our call together when I talk about the money mapping system. It'll make much more sense. In fact, I'll be able to answer that question specifically and show examples of that on our call together next time. But we have to have a plan. So number one, we have to categorize our expenses into 4 categories. We have to look at net income and gross income as just very 2 different numbers. And then we have to base a lot of our formula and percentage of our spending off of this income, what we call our take-home pay. And then we'll look at each percentage, like you shouldn't be spending more than a certain 60% of your take-home pay on what I call your ARM expenses, which are your required expenses. And so that's just a really good formula to check your spending. And that's another thing. A lot of time we don't have any checks or balances. Like, how do I know if my spending's out of line, or where should I cut? But our first category of expenses are what we call our ARM expenses. Those are our mandatory required expenses. And usually what they boil down to is their survival expenses, meaning we have to have a roof over our head in order to survive at first and live a good life. So that's a mandatory expense, either rent or a mortgage payment. Another thing that we have to have is transportation. So even if it's the bus or the subway or a car, we have to be able to transport ourselves from point A to point B. So there's always some sort of transportation spending that's required. The other part is our health care. We have to take care of our bodies, and whether we have insurance or not, I mean, like say through an employer or not, we're responsible for our health care. We need to be able to take care of our health in a way, and that's making money. Really, a big reason we want to make money is to be able to take better care of our health, because being really healthy can be actually very expensive. But taking care of our health is a mandatory expense at some level. Utilities are a mandatory expense. Gas with the car is a mandatory expense. So there's these mandatory expenses. Food and clothing are required expenses. Now, women especially, we tend to buy way more clothes than we need. So, but our kids are mandatory. They grow out of their clothes quickly. So there's these mandatory, these required expenses, which I'll call my ARM expenses. We'll talk more next time. The second category of spending, and this is a life changer right here, because the way I teach, I'm going to teach you how to think about money differently. I'm going to teach you about money in a way that's going to empower your life. Like, you're going to have these big breakthrough moments that if you start thinking this way, it really is life-changing, because it enables you to change your money situation. And one of those, the way I teach, the second category of expenses is saving. So people would never think of saving as an expense, but what savings is you save today to have money to spend in the future. So that's what savings is, but so it's future spending. So I teach you, while we're looking at our spending, at our ARM expenses. Now we're looking at our savings spending, and we're taking an amount out each month, and we're spending it and we're putting it in what I call our savings bucket. And I talk about the bucketing method, which is the money mapping system. Is we bucket our money, which makes it really fun and easy to track. But that's the second category of spending. The third category of spending is our debt payoff. So many of us, we feel like we're just in a losing battle with our debt, and there's no way out. And there is a way out, but we have to learn a system for how to pay off our debt. And I teach that. I have a debt payoff system and a very specific thing that you'll have a plan for paying off your debt. So once you just have that in place, you can start to feel better, because you know you're not going to put any more on your credit card, so that's done. But you can just like take this sigh of relief, like, oh, I know I now have a plan, and I'm working month by month to pay off my debt in a very concise and doable method that I teach. So that's the debt payoff. So you can see 12 months from now, 24 months from now, I will be debt free. And imagine what that will feel like when you're like, I know I've got a plan, I'm doing it, I'm putting it in action, I'm going to be debt free in this period of time. And then the fourth category of expenses, what I call the little luxuries, which are all those other miscellaneous expenses that we tend to not pay attention to. And cable is one of those. So you would look at all those expenses, that category of spending, and say, look at all the spending I'm spending on things that's not required to survive, that's not required as part of my saving spending, that's not required to get out of debt. This is just, I'm spending money all over the place. And when we have an opportunity to separate it, that's very important. Like the key to why my program is successful, because when you break up these expenses in these different categories, you spend time thinking of each one and you create a plan in each one. And it just makes it very simple to be aware of your money and your spending, so that you can change this. You can change and take some simple steps. But that's where you look at and be like, wow, I'm paying $80 towards cable. Or what usually happens, Sean, is by doing this very simple work, is noticing like, wow, I'm being charged monthly for that gym membership that I thought I canceled last year, or such and such. And we'll start noticing like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that I was still paying this $10 amount or $5 amount. And those things add up. Imagine if you caught $50, $80, and now we're going to move that over to the other category of expensing towards your extra debt payoff. Once we start doing just these very simple changes, all of a sudden life is completely different, and we can change, move from financial distress to like financial, not euphoria, because we're not there, but financial satisfaction because we know we have a plan for a way out, and everybody can do it. Like my system works, it's on formulas, and it doesn't matter if you make $36,000 a year or $336,000 a year. The formulas stay the same, the system's the same, so it works for everyone. And the great news is that those that tend to make maybe even lower incomes tend to do better with this than those that make high incomes, because most people with high incomes, we think we don't need money help. And most of us that earn high incomes actually need the most money help, believe it or not. So we even have to get over sort of that arrogance of thinking we've got it figured out, because high incomes is just one small piece of the overall money thing.
You know, I as you were talking, I was thinking about what you said. Well, first of all, I'm excited for the presentation that you're gonna give, and we're not gonna give the dates on this call right now because they're gonna be somewhere on here. So, if you want to go ahead and register for that, you're more than welcome to. I'm excited that we're gonna kind of peel back the onion, so to speak, and really dive into it. But I was thinking about a mentor of mine early on when I sold my credit repair company and I started my marketing business. And he said, "Hey, Sean, how do you define wealth?" And I said, "All my bills paid off and the ability to buy whatever I want, whenever I want, and not have to worry about it." And he's like, "That's interesting." Yeah. And I said, "Well, how do you define wealth?" And he said, "One word, freedom." And I was thinking about that when you were saying the word freedom, and it is so true, because if you look at people who typically procrastinate, there's a huge struggle in procrastination with not getting done what you need to get done within the time that you're allotted. And then what it does is when you have free time with your family, your friends, and people that you love or whatever, that you stress out about not doing what you were supposed to do, and you're robbing the time, and that really is at that whole freedom struggle. And I was just thinking about that as you were saying that. It was just it was making me I need to go back and read my books about procrastinating and money and stuff like that. So
let me jump on that real quick again. Is freedom's a big word, so I completely agree. To me, it is 100% about freedom. But I didn't have a meaning for that word for a long time. It was like a concept, like it sounds good, I want that. So to me, and I said it a little bit earlier, but the way I think of freedom in the context of what we're talking about is two things. It's freedom from unwanted financial worry and stress. So that's the first part of freedom. So the first part of way to think about freedom is what would have to happen for me to have zero financial stress. And parts of that is that, again, that just a high income doesn't alleviate financial stress. If you know in the back of your mind that you make $500,000, but if you broke your leg tomorrow and couldn't work, if you got a car wreck and couldn't work for 90 days, you're screwed. That financial stress still lingers. So the way we have be free of that is we have to have assets, we have to have savings, we have to have cash. Cash, there's always, there's that term, cash is what? Cash is king. And Gary, my husband, always says, "Well, for you, honey, it's cash is queen." But since I'm the money one. But cash is financial security, and that's a hard concept today because we don't really use cash all that much. Everything's credit, everything's plastic. Or now this morning, I'm so happy with Apple Pay. I went to Whole Foods and I used Apple Pay for the first time. So it's not even going to be plastic anymore. It's just going to be putting your phone up next to a machine, right? So we're getting farther and farther away from the physicalness of cash. And but cash in its physical form, it's much easier to organize around. So that's part of why we're getting these situations, is because we're not using cash as a currency like in its physical form. It's very much more, it's easier to lose track of our spending. Like when you had to give $1 every single time, and you had to, or even a check for that matter, and you had to write it down in the back of your checkbook, at least you were constantly somehow paying attention to your spending. That's gone. Like my children will not even know what that means, so they're going to have to learn it differently. But cash is security. So that's the first thing we're looking to do, is how do we build our cash? our cash reserves. And that's why saving needs to be spending, because we have to fill our reserve buckets, what I call the bucketing system. So when we have those buckets of cash, I like to say, that are these different savings accounts that I teach you about, when those are full, you have some financial security. And then when you start to have assets, which is wealth, wealth is assets. What wealth is net worth. What net worth is means that your assets have value, or your assets produce income and not your body. There's only two ways to make money. There's working income, and then there's passive income. So working income means we use our bodies to make money. We have to go to work. The day we don't go to work, we what? We lose our money. Or our assets produce money. That's what passive income is. That's our assets working for us. So they put off income. That's why it's so important to start building our assets, because when we hit retirement age, since we can't use our bodies to make our money, we have to use our assets to make our money. If we don't have any assets that pay that are our income to pay our lifestyle, lifestyle tends to go down when we retire versus staying the same or going up, which is sort of the dilemma some of the sad situation that many seniors are finding themselves in today. 97% of seniors actually go backwards in lifestyle today, then stay the same or going up when they retire. And it's usually because they don't have assets. So that's part one of financial freedom. Of what freedom is freedom from that perpetual, constant nagging, worrying, and stress. Then the second part of freedom, as I mentioned, is freedom. First one's freedom from. The second one is freedom to. Freedom to what? Freedom to live life on my terms. Freedom, like, I want to take the day off and spend with my kids. I can do it. Freedom to have this call with you because I want to, and don't have to do something else in order to produce whatever opportunities can come out of this. Freedom to take time and go get a massage or read a book. Freedom to create and write and do the things where I just don't have to work so hard and be out showing property or something. So it's just the freedom to have space. So that's just it. We all want freedom to live life on our own terms. And that really is what a good life is all about, is what are the terms of our own good life. And then to be able to live that, not be constrained, especially by finances. Usually we're constrained by finances or health. I teach the finance piece. So not being constrained from being able to live life on our terms. And what we don't want to do, what we're doing? We're living life on the bank's terms. That's what I get so passionate about this. I want to teach, that's part of the teaching is part of the problem is you're living your life on the bank's terms. You're giving away your life to the banks by all this spending and all this debt and all this stuff. And what you're giving up for that is your life, is your ability to live life on your terms, where the banks don't own your life. You own your life. So that's what we have to change. And the only reason we find ourselves in these situations is not because we're bad or irresponsible or doing something wrong. Like, everyone I talk to are hugely responsible. They're working hard. They're trying hard. So it's not a matter of bad intentions, or not a matter of being lazy, or not a matter of being irresponsible. It's just a matter that we don't know any different. And that's what I want to change. I can teach us to think differently so that we can act differently. That just improves our lives for the sake of improving our lives.
That's awesome. So here's what I want to do. Let's talk real quick about what we're going to cover in the special training that we're going to be doing, because I know we're gonna open up the book. So what's the name of the training? It's
it's the money mapping system is what we'll be talking about.
So is that the name of the webinar, the money mapping system?
Yes.
Okay. So we're gonna talk about the money mapping system, what exactly they're going to learn, what exactly you're going to be talking about. And then what we want you guys to do is register for that webinar. It's a special webinar that you and Gary, are you guys doing it together, or how?
No, I'll just be teaching this one.
Okay, you'll be teaching this one. I'm really excited about this because you're right. Every time I talk to an agent, it's like, hey, I'll ask, hey, have you read a book? Like how many books are you reading? And there's not even freedom to read a book. I'm like, I'm busy. I can't read right now. How's that working for you? It seems like if you're doing 6 or 7 transactions a year, it's like you're more busy trying to figure out how to make more money. And it's like we want to change the way people think. So what are we covering on that webinar?
Well, what I'll be sharing I'm just going to teach my money mapping system, which is exactly how I work my money. And we're going to be looking at some statistics, and then we're going to be breaking money down. And I'm going to talk about how we map our money, how we not only think about money differently, but then what we do with our money to be able to change our financial situation. So we're just going to look at it. By the end, you're going to have some great questions. We'll do a really great Q&A at the end. So everybody on the call today, between now and then, be writing all your questions down and throw any money question at me. I mean, I really love the money questions, but come prepared to talk about it. There's no feel bad in this either. Like, what I want to do is, whatever your situation is, it's okay. We've all gotten to where we are just because we don't know better. Money's not talked in school. Money's not a conversation that we have on a regular basis. Most of us haven't taken any time to learn about money. We just sort of kind of figure it out. And money's a discipline. We do have to learn a little bit. So we're going to learn a little bit about money. We're going to learn a system for being able to take control of our money. We're going to have a great Q&A so that any of those, in a very anonymous environment where nobody will know who you are, so you can just throw any money question and not have to feel bad about it. Because many of us, we have questions about money, but we're too embarrassed to ask because we're afraid somebody might judge us. But here's a secret: nobody else knows anything about money either. So anyway, so come prepared to ask your questions, and we'll have a really good time together.
I'm excited. I'm excited for it. So guys, do that right now. Go ahead and just click the link if you see a link on the page. Now, here's the deal. If the training is passed and we're not doing any live ones, there might be a link on here to maybe opt in for a waiting list. I'm not sure how we'll do that, but regardless of any of that, make sure if there's a link on here that you sign up for it right now, get registered. I know you have got some amazing just testimonials on some of the trainings that you've done. I'm probably going to get to see that on the registration page and whatnot.
Yeah, we have lots of testimonials and people. I wrote a book. I have a best-selling book called Falling for Money. So even if you have a chance, you might pick up the Falling for Money book and read it between now and the webinar. If you do, the webinar will be just huge for you because you'll have some background, some framework that you've already read that we'll be covering on the webinar that Sean and I do together. But if not, I have the Falling for Money book that you can always pick up. But if you don't learn, what I like to say is...
I'm going to put the link, by the way, to your book. Is it on Amazon?
It's on Amazon, yes.
I'm going to put the Amazon link on this page, too. So, guys, if you need to learn about money... listen, I've had so many people ask me about money and what they should do. And there's Financial Freedom guy. What's his name? The bald guy, not me, but
I don't know.
There's that guy. There's a bunch of them out there. But I'm telling you right now, Krisstina and her husband Gary are the coolest people you will ever meet. And to be able to take some guidance from them directly, this what we're going to be doing is basically an over-the-shoulder peek into how you guys did it. And that's what I love, learning from people's real world experiences. So I'm just looking forward to it. And I really appreciate you coming today and taking your time out of the day to do this for the people here at Realbies.com. I'm really excited about that, and thank you so much.
Well, you have a great audience, and again, real estate's been my entire career, so I get it better than anyone. And real estate's where I lost my fortune and then where I made it again. So we can talk about all of that. And what I like to say is about the money thing is money is a skill and a discipline that we have to learn. And money affects every part of our life. I talk about my 6 F words, which is the 6 categories of life that you'll have to read the book to find out what the 6 F words are. But we have these 6 categories of life, and the thing is money is what allows us, it funds us to be able to have a good life in all these different areas. So what I like to say is, if you don't learn money from me, learn it from somebody. Just gift yourself, invest. There's that word investment, that everything's an investment. Everything costs. It costs something. It costs time. It costs money. So put an investment in yourself to learn about money. And if it's not from me, then learn it from someone. Just offer yourself, make the investment in yourself to learn so that you can change your financial situation. And remember, it's not about how much money we make. It's how much money we keep and what we do to use that to be able to fund our current lifestyle, but also to build our fortune over time.
Well said. Well put. Well, there you go, guys. Hey, make sure that you do me a huge favor. If you see this video on the Realbies.com site, or if you're watching it on YouTube, you might be seeing it on Facebook, do us a huge favor, write your comments below, share this video with this interview with one of your friends, whether they're in real estate or not, because this really applies to entrepreneurs, just period. Business owners, anybody that's dealing with money issues, they need to take a look at this. This is not just for real estate, but this is for anybody that spends money. And that's everybody.
That's everybody. And the way we sum it up is, my goal is that everyone becomes money savvy. Just become savvy. It means we have the knowledge and the confidence to be able to apply money, use money in a way that allows us to live our life on our terms. But yeah, we just want to be savvy. We don't have to be experts. We don't have to be on Wall Street. We don't have to have PhDs in this or accounting degrees. We just need to know enough to be able to use it in our own good lives. So anyway, well, thank you. I can't wait to do our call together.
Yeah,
I really love the conversation. So I promise not to disappoint.
Yeah, no, I know you won't. I know you won't. All right, guys, make sure you register for the training, and we'll see you on the training. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Krisstina. Again, I really appreciate you. Tell your hubby I said hi.
I will. Thank you.
All right,
Talk
take
soon.
care.
Bye.